Jake Martinez crouched behind the broken concrete wall and watched the alien guards march past. Their green scales caught the morning light as they dragged another group of human prisoners toward the mining site. The sound of chains filled the air, children cried. Adults walked with empty eyes. 3 years ago, Jake had been a captain in the United States Army. Now he led a small group of fighters hiding in the ruins of what used to be Denver. The city was nothing but broken buildings. And ash, the Zephyrians had bombed it flat when humans first tried to fight back. Dr. Lisa Campbell crawled up beside him. Her lab coat was torn and dirty. Before the invasion, she had studied alien life in universities. Now she studied how to kill aliens. The patrol has 12 guards, she whispered. Same as yesterday, Sergeant Tony Brooks joined them. His face was covered in scars from the first battle 3 years ago. Most of his unit had died that day. I count 20 prisoners this time. More kids than usual. Jake felt his hands shake with anger. The Zephyrians took human children to work in their deep mines. Most never came back up. The aliens said humans were perfect for small spaces and dangerous work. They called humans useful animals, the Zephyrian Empire controlled half the galaxy. Their ships could destroy planets, their weapons could melt steel. Their shields could stop any human bullet or missile. When they first came to Earth, they pretended to want peace. They said they came to trade and share knowledge. It was all lies. Within 6 months, Zephyrian armies landed on every continent. Their plasma guns burned through human tanks like paper. Their flying ships destroyed every air force on Earth, human. Governments tried to surrender, but the aliens did not want surrender. They wanted slaves. Supreme Commander Vexstar ruled Earth from his ship above the planet. He was 8 feet tall with yellow eyes and razor teeth. In his first broadcast to humanity, he said humans were now property of the Zephyrian Empire. They would work until they died. Their children would work after them. Jake remembered that day clearly. He had been stationed at Fort Carson when the aliens landed. The base lasted 4 hours against Zephyrian attack ships. Jake and 40 soldiers escaped into the mountains. Now only 12 were still alive. We need those supply crates, Jake said, pointing at the alien convoy moving through the street below. Lisa, what did your scans show? Lisa pulled out a device she had built from stolen alien parts. The crates contained power cells and food rations. Enough to keep our people fed for a month. But Jake, there is something else. I picked up strange energy readings from the lead vehicle. What kind of readings? Communication equipment, very advanced. If we could capture it intact, I might be able to break their encryption codes. Tony spat in the dirt. More important than codes is saving those people. Look at them, Jake. Half those kids won't last a week in the mines. Jake studied the convoy. The alien guards walked in perfect formation. Their plasma rifles could kill a human with one shot. Their armor could stop any weapon the resistance had found so far. But Jake had learned something important over 3 years of fighting. The Zephyrians thought humans were weak and stupid. They had stopped being careful. We take them all, Jake decided. The supplies, the communication gear, and we free the prisoners. Tony, take your team around the back. Lisa, you and I will hit them from the front. When I give the signal, we move fast and hard. The 3 humans crawled back to where their small team waited. 8 fighters armed with captured alien weapons and homemade explosives. They had been planning this raid for 2 weeks. Every resistance cell in the area needed those supplies to survive the winter. Jake looked at his people. There was Maria Santos, a former engineer who now built bombs. Pete Jackson, a mechanic who kept their stolen vehicles running. Kelly Davis, a pilot who had lost her entire squadron on the first day of the invasion. Sam Mitchell, a farmer who joined after aliens killed his family. These were not soldiers. They were ordinary people who refused to give up. The Zephyrians had made a mistake. They thought breaking human cities would break human spirit. Instead, it had made humans angry. Listen up, Jake said quietly. The aliens think we are animals. They think we are too scared to fight back. Today we show them they are wrong. We save our people and we take their supplies. But remember, we are not like them. We do not kill prisoners. We do not hurt the helpless. We are still human. The team spread out through the ruins. Jake and Lisa moved to a position overlooking the street. Below them, the convoy moved slowly. The alien guards looked bored. They had been ruling Earth for 3 years without serious challenge. Human resistance had been small and scattered. That was about to change. Jake raised his hand and counted down. 3, 2, 1. The attack came from all sides at once. Maria's bombs exploded under the lead vehicle. Tony's team opened fire from behind. Jake and Lisa shot at the guards from above. The aliens tried to respond, but they had walked into a perfect trap. The battle lasted 3 minutes. When the smoke cleared, all 12 alien guards were dead. The prisoners were free. And Jake's team had captured enough supplies to keep the resistance alive for months. But as Lisa examined the communication equipment, her face went pale. Jake, you need to see this. I can read some of their language now, this message. It says they are planning something called biological harvesting in 6 months. Jake felt ice in his stomach. What does that mean? They want to start using humans for medical experiments. They plan to take 100,000 people to their home planet. The rescued prisoners gathered around Jake, men, women, and children, who had spent months or years as slaves. They looked at him with hope in their eyes. They thought the worst was over. Jake knew better. The real war was just beginning. That night, as his team celebrated their victory, Jake sat alone looking at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Zephyrian fleet waited. They had weapons that could crack planets. They had armies that had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated what humans would do to protect their children. Jake picked up the radio and began sending coded messages to resistance cells around the world. It was time to stop hiding. It was time to start fighting back for real. The Zephyrians wanted to harvest humans like crops. Jake would show them that humans were not sheep to be slaughtered. They were wolves. And wolves fought back. 6 months had passed since Jake's team captured the alien communication equipment. The underground base beneath the Rocky Mountains now buzzed with activity day and night. What started as 12 fighters hiding in ruins had grown into something much bigger. General Jake Martinez stood in the main command room looking at screens showing resistance cells across North America. The title felt strange to him. 3 years ago, he was just a captain. Now, humans from Canada to Mexico followed his orders. The resistance had grown because people were tired of being slaves. Amy Rodriguez sat at a bank of computers she had built from stolen alien technology. Before the invasion, she designed communication systems for the military. Now she was humanity's linked to freedom. Her fingers moved quickly across keyboards as coded messages flowed between resistance cells around the world. General, I have contact with the European cells, Amy said without looking up from her screen. Nina Volkov reports. They captured 3 alien shield generators last week. She thinks she can reverse engineer them. What about Asia? Jake asked. Chunwoo's people hit another mining facility yesterday. They freed 800 prisoners and captured 2 transport ships. The aliens are starting to move their operations underground. Jake nodded. The Zephyrians were learning that humans could fight back. They were becoming more careful. But Jake had learned something too. The aliens made their technology too complex. They relied on computers and automation. Humans were better at thinking fast and changing plans. Dr. Lisa Campbell walked into the command room carrying a metal cylinder that glowed with blue light. Her research team worked 20 hours a day studying captured alien technology. They had made discoveries that could change everything. Jake, we did it, Lisa said with excitement in her voice. We cracked their power source. This crystal contains enough energy to power a human city for a year. But more important, we found their weakness. She connected the cylinder to a computer. Screen, strange symbols and numbers filled the display. Zephyrian technology uses a specific frequency to operate. Everything from their weapons to their ships depends on this frequency. If we can disrupt it, their technology stops working. Like jamming a radio signal? Amy asked. Exactly, but better than that. We discovered something about their biology. 2. Zephyrians have nervous systems that are very sensitive to electromagnetic pulses. The same frequency that disrupts their technology can damage their brains. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. For 3 years, humans had been fighting with captured weapons and desperate courage. Now they might have a real advantage. How do we use this? We need to build a transmitter powerful enough to reach their command ships. The equipment would be large and need lots of power. But if we could get close enough to their main fleet— A new voice interrupted them. Commander Rick Thompson entered the room with oil stains on his flight suit. He led the Resistance's small air force of captured alien fighters. Rick was one of the best pilots Earth ever produced. Before the invasion, he flew for the Navy. Now he flew stolen ships against his former captors. "General, my pilots are ready for the next phase," Rick said. "We have 15 captured fighters modified with human weapon systems." Kelly Davis figured out how to boost their speed by 30%. Sam Mitchell installed manual controls to replace their computer systems. "How many pilots do we have trained?" 43, all volunteers. "They know this is probably a one-way mission." Jake looked around the room at his team. These people had lost everything to the Zephyrians. Families, homes, entire ways of life. But they had not lost their will to fight. The aliens thought they had broken humanity's spirit. They were wrong. Amy's computer started beeping rapidly. "General, we have an urgent message from our intelligence network. The aliens are planning something big." The main screen changed to show intercepted Zephyrian communications. Amy had learned to translate their language over months of careful study. Supreme Commander Vexstar is organizing a military parade in Washington, D.C. He wants to show the human populations that resistance is hopeless. "When?" Jake asked. 3 days from now. The message says he will attend personally along with the regional commanders from every occupied zone. Lisa stepped forward. "Jake, this could be our chance. If we could get our electromagnetic pulse weapon close to their leadership." "It would be suicide," Rick said. "Washington is heavily defended. They have 50 ships in orbit and thousands of ground troops." "Maybe," Jake said slowly. "But what if that is exactly what they expect us to think?" "Amy, send a message to all resistance cells. Tell them to prepare for Operation Phoenix." "Phoenix?" Lisa asked. "We are going to rise from the ashes of what they destroyed, and we are going to burn their empire to the ground." Over the next 3 days, the resistance moved with careful precision. Weapons and supplies flowed to staging areas around the former capital. Resistance fighters emerged from hiding places they had used for years. Scientists worked around the clock to build portable electromagnetic pulse devices. Jake knew this. Operation would either free humanity or destroy what remained of the resistance. There was no middle ground. The Zephyrians had called them animals and treated them like property. Now humans would show them what angry animals could do when they fought back. The night before the attack, Jake walked through the underground base. People worked everywhere he looked. Engineers modified weapons, pilots studied flight plans, doctors prepared medical supplies. Everyone knew that tomorrow would change everything. He found Tony Brooks cleaning his rifle in the armory. The old sergeant had fought beside Jake since the beginning. "You think we can pull this off?" Tony asked. "The Zephyrians think they know us," Jake replied. "They think we are weak because we lost the first battles. They think we are divided because we come from different countries. They think we will surrender because some humans have given up hope. And they are wrong about all of it. We are not weak. We are learning. We are not divided. We are united by anger. And we will never surrender because surrender means watching our children die in their minds." Tony smiled and went back to cleaning his weapon. Jake continued his walk through the base. In the medical bay, Dr. Campbell made final adjustments to the electromagnetic pulse devices. Each one was small enough for a single person to carry but powerful enough to disable Zephyrian technology within a mile dot in the communication center. Amy coordinated with resistance cells around the world. Tomorrow's attack in Washington would be supported by smaller strikes on every continent. The aliens would learn that human resistance was not limited to one country or one leader. In the flight deck, Rick Thompson briefed his pilots one final time. They had practiced the attack route hundreds of times in simulation. They knew the risks. Most would not survive. But they also knew that their sacrifice might save millions of other humans. As dawn approached, Jake gathered his senior staff in the command room. In a few hours, we will show the Zephyrians something they have never seen before. Humans who refuse to stay broken. Humans who learn from their mistakes. Humans who fight back even when victory seems impossible. He looked at each person in the room. Whatever happens today, remember this. We are not just fighting for our own freedom. We are fighting for every human child who will be born after this war ends. We are fighting so they will grow up free instead of in chains. The countdown began. Across the world, resistance fighters prepared to emerge from hiding. The Zephyrians expected a military parade to demonstrate their power. Instead, they were about to learn that enslaving humanity was the worst mistake their empire had ever made. Operation Phoenix was about to begin. The sun rose over the ruins of Washington, D.C. as Operation Phoenix began. From hidden positions around the city, human resistance fighters watched alien ships circle overhead. Supreme Commander Vextar-S parade would start in 2 hours. The Zephyrian leader wanted to show thousands of human prisoners that resistance was hopeless. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Commander Rick Thompson sat in the cockpit of his stolen Zephyrian fighter, high in the clouds above the city. 15 other modified ships flew in formation around him. His pilots had spent months learning to fly alien technology. Today they would use that knowledge to strike at the heart of the enemy. Phoenix leader to all units, Rick spoke into his radio. Target is confirmed. Supreme Commander Vextar-S command ship is the large vessel above the parade ground. Remember, this is a one-way trip for most of us. Make every shot count, Kelly Davis responded from Phoenix 2. Copy that, Commander. My electromagnetic pulse device is armed and ready. Sam Mitchell's voice came through Phoenix 3. All systems green. Let's show these lizards what human pilots can do. On the ground, General Jake Martinez crouched with his assault team behind the ruins of the Lincoln Memorial. Through his binoculars, he could see the parade ground where thousands of Zephyrian soldiers stood in perfect formation. Their plasma weapons gleamed in the morning light. Their armor looked invincible. Dr. Lisa Campbell knelt beside Jake, making final checks on the massive electromagnetic pulse generator hidden inside the Washington Monument. The device is ready, she whispered. When I activate it, every piece of Zephyrian technology within 10 miles will stop working. Including our stolen weapons? Jake asked. Everything. We will have maybe 30 minutes before their backup systems come online. After that, we fight with whatever we can find. Sergeant Tony Brooks moved up to join them. His team of 50 fighters waited in the ruins around the memorial. General, the prisoners are being moved into position. Looks like about 5,000. People, mostly families with children. Jake felt anger burn in his chest. The aliens were using human prisoners as decoration for their victory parade. Men, women, and children in chains would be forced to watch their conquerors celebrate. It was meant to break human spirit completely. Instead, it gave Jake's fighters even more reason to fight. 2 miles away, Amy Rodriguez sat in a hidden command bunker coordinating attacks around the world. Her screens showed resistance cells in every major city preparing to strike. Global units report ready, she said into her headset. London, Paris, Tokyo, Sydney, all targets confirmed. Execute worldwide strikes in 60 seconds, Jake ordered through the radio. The final minute felt like an hour. Jake looked at his fighters. These were not professional soldiers. They were teachers, mechanics, doctors, farmers, people who had lived normal lives before the invasion. The Zephyrians had turned them into warriors by taking everything they loved. Phoenix flight, begin attack run. Rick's voice came through the radio. High above the city, the stolen fighters dove toward the alien parade. Zephyrian patrol ships moved to intercept them, but the human pilots had learned to be unpredictable. They split into pairs, Using the city's broken buildings as cover, Rick's fighter screamed toward Vexstar's command ship. The alien vessel was massive, nearly a mile long, hovering directly above the parade ground. Its shields flickered as plasma. Fire from the ship's defenders tried to stop the incoming attack. "Phoenix 2! Covering fire!" Rick shouted. Kelly Davis rolled her fighter sideways and fired at the command ship's weapon turrets. Her shots found their target, destroying 2 of the ship's main guns, but return fire hit her engine. Her fighter started to smoke. "Phoenix 2 is hit," Kelly reported. "Engine failing, but I still have control." "Stay with the mission," Rick ordered, though his heart was breaking. Kelly had been his best student. She was also one of the bravest people he had ever known. On the ground, Jake watched the air battle through his binoculars. "Lisa, activate the pulse generator now." "Doctor." Campbell's finger hovered over the activation switch. "Jake, remember, once I do this, we are committed. No retreat, no second chances." "Do it." Lisa pressed the switch. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then every screen, every light, every piece of technology for miles around went dark. The massive Zephyrian ship stopped moving and began to fall toward the ground. Alien weapons stopped firing. Even their armor systems shut down. The electromagnetic pulse had worked perfectly. Supreme. Commander Vexstar stood on the observation deck of his command ship as it began to plummet toward the Earth. His yellow eyes went wide with shock as he realized what was happening. The humans had found a way to turn his own technology against him. "Impossible," he hissed through his sharp teeth. "They are primitive animals. They cannot do this." But they were doing it. All around the city, Zephyrian forces found themselves helpless as their weapons and vehicles stopped working. The aliens who had ruled through superior technology suddenly faced enemies who fought with simple human determination. Jake's assault team charged from the ruins toward the parade ground. Their stolen weapons no longer worked, but they carried human-made guns and explosives. The Zephyrians tried to respond, but their communication systems were dead. They could not coordinate a defense. "Free the prisoners?" Jake shouted as his fighters poured onto the parade ground. Tony Brooks led a team straight toward the chained humans. His bolt cutters made quick work of the alien restraints. As families were freed, many joined the fight. Parents who had watched their children enslaved picked up fallen alien weapons and turned them on their former captors. Above the battle, Rick's fighter reached the falling command ship. He could see Supreme Commander Vexstar through the observation deck windows. The alien leader who had enslaved Earth was about to pay for his crimes. "This is for every human child who died in your mines," Rick said quietly. He activated his ship's electromagnetic pulse device and rammed straight into the command ship's bridge. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Kelly Davis managed to land her damaged fighter near the parade ground. She climbed out with her pulse device and ran toward a group of Zephyrian officers who were trying to restore their communication equipment. "Kelly, get back!" Jake shouted, but she was already too close to retreat. She activated her device just as the aliens raised their weapons. The pulse disabled their guns, but the explosion also caught Kelly in its range. She collapsed to the ground, her nervous system damaged by the electromagnetic energy. Sam Mitchell landed his fighter and ran to help her. "Medic!" he screamed. "We need a medic!" But Kelly was already dying. She looked up at Sam with a weak smile. "Did we get them?" "We got them all," Sam promised, tears running down his face. Around the world, similar battles played out as resistance. CLLS attacked Zephyrian installations. In London, Chunwoo led fighters through the underground tunnels to strike at alien command centers. In Paris, Dr. Nina Volkov's team used captured shield generators to protect civilians during their assault. In Tokyo, Colonel Joseph Meki coordinated attacks across Asia and Africa. The day that was supposed to show human helplessness instead showed the galaxy that humanity would never surrender. As the sun set over Washington, D.C., Jake stood among the ruins of the Zephyrian parade. Bodies of alien soldiers covered the ground. Their weapons lay silent and useless. Supreme Commander Vexstar was dead. Thousands of human prisoners had been freed, but the victory came with a terrible cost. Half of Rick's pilots had died in the attack. Hundreds of resistance fighters lay, wounded or dead. And Jake knew this was just the beginning. Amy's voice crackled through a handheld radio. "General, I am picking up long-range communications from space. The main Zephyrian fleet is responding to our attack. They will be here in 3 months." Jake looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, an alien armada was preparing to destroy Earth completely. They would bring weapons that could crack planets. They would show no mercy, but humanity had learned something important today. The Zephyrians could be beaten. Their technology could be turned against them. Their soldiers could be killed. "Tony," Jake called to his old friend, "send word to every resistance cell on the planet. Tell them what we did here today. Tell them the real war is about to begin." As the first stars appeared overhead, Jake made a promise to the friends who had died that day. The aliens wanted to harvest humans like crops. Instead, humanity would harvest their technology, their ships, and their weapons. The Zephyrians had enslaved the wrong species. Soon they would learn the price of that mistake. 3 months after Operation Phoenix, Earth looked like a different planet. The scattered resistance cells had become a unified global defense force. Where once humans hid in ruins, now they built fortresses from alien technology. The slaves had become soldiers, and the soldiers were preparing for total war. General Jake Martinez stood in the new command center built inside Mount Rushmore. The faces of 4 presidents carved in stone watched over banks of computers and communication equipment. Amy Rodriguez had moved her entire operation here, creating a network that connected every human settlement on Earth. "Report from all sectors," Jake ordered. Amy's fingers moved across her keyboard. "European Defense Zone reports ready. Junwoo has fortified every major city from London to Moscow. Asian Defense Zone confirms preparation complete. Colonel Joseph. Becky's forces control everything from Tokyo to Sydney. African Defense Zone is online with full defensive grids." Dr. Lisa Campbell entered the command center carrying a tablet computer. Her research teams had worked day and night for 3 months, turning captured Zephyrian technology into human weapons. "Jake, the Prometheus system is ready for final testing." "Explain it again," Jake said, though he already knew the details. "By heart, we took the electromagnetic pulse technology and made it bigger." "Much bigger?" "The Prometheus system is a network of orbital weapons platforms hidden around Earth. Each platform uses Zephyrian stealth technology, so their sensors cannot detect them. When the alien fleet arrives, they will think Earth is defenseless." "How many platforms do we have?" 47. "Each one can destroy a Zephyrian battleship with a single pulse." "But Jake, there is something else you need to know. The platforms are operated by volunteers. Once the battle starts, there is no way to evacuate the crews." Jake nodded grimly. Every aspect of Earth's defense required sacrifice. The electromagnetic pulse weapons were powerful, but they were also dangerous to operate. The volunteers who crewed the orbital platforms knew they were signing up for a suicide mission. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos walked into the command center. Before the invasion, she had been a civil engineer. Now she commanded Earth's ground defenses. "General, the shield generators are in position around every major population center. If their orbital bombardment penetrates our space defenses, the cities can hold out for weeks." "What about the counterattack preparations?" "General Pete Jackson reports the shipyards are ready. We have reverse-engineered Zephyrion faster than light engines and installed them on human-built ships. If we survive their attack, we can take the war to them." Jake looked around the command center at his staff. 3 months ago, these people had been leading desperate guerrilla cells. Now they commanded millions of fighters across the globe. The transformation was remarkable, but Jake knew it might not be enough. Amy's computer started beeping urgently. "General, long-range sensors are picking up the Zephyrian fleet. They just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system." The main screen filled with data. Numbers and symbols showed the size of the approaching alien armada. Jake felt his blood turn cold. How many ships? 347 capital ships, at least 2,000 smaller vessels. And Jake, they have something new. The computer identifies it as a planet killer weapon. Dr. Campbell rushed to her terminal. A planet killer? That explains why they waited 3 months to respond. They went back to their home territory to get their most powerful weapons. How long until they reach Earth? Jake asked. 18 hours. At their current speed, Amy replied. Jake activated the global communication system. Every resistance leader on Earth would hear his next words. This is General Martinez to all defense zones. The enemy fleet has arrived. We have 18 hours to final preparations. Remember, they think we are broken animals hiding in ruins. They expect easy victory. We are going to show them what angry humans can do when they fight for their children's future. Across the planet, humans made final preparations for the battle that would decide their species' fate. In the underground factories, workers loaded the last electromagnetic pulse devices onto fighter craft. In the cities, families moved into the protected bunkers that would shelter them during orbital bombardment. Sam Mitchell, now commander of Earth's Combined Air Forces, briefed his pilots in a hangar beneath the Rocky Mountains. 200 captured Zephyrian fighters had been modified with human weapons and control systems. Each pilot knew the odds of survival were small. Listen up, Sam said to the assembled pilots. We lost good people in Washington. Rick Thompson died ramming that command ship. Kelly Davis gave her life activating a pulse device. Today we fight for them and for everyone else who died fighting these aliens. One young pilot raised her hand. Commander, what if their planet killer weapon destroys Earth before we can stop them? Sam looked at the faces around him. Most of these pilots were barely 20 years old. They had grown up during the occupation, learned to fly in secret, and volunteered for missions that would probably kill them. Then we make sure they pay such a high price that they never attack another world again. We make sure the galaxy remembers what happens when someone tries to enslave humanity. In the Prometheus orbital platforms, volunteer crews performed final system checks. Each platform was essentially a large electromagnetic pulse cannon with life support systems and minimal shielding. The crews were exposed to dangerous radiation levels, but they had volunteered anyway. Captain David Hughes commanded Platform 7. Before the invasion, he had been a high school teacher. Now he was responsible for one of humanity's most powerful weapons. All systems green, he reported to Earth Control. Ready to engage enemy targets? Similar reports came from all 47 platforms. The volunteers knew they were probably going to die, but they also knew their sacrifice might save billions of people on Earth. As night fell over the planet, Jake walked through the tunnels of Mount Rushmore. Everywhere he looked, people worked. With calm determination, engineers fine-tuned weapons systems. Communication operators coordinated with defense zones around the world. Medical teams prepared for massive casualties. He found Tony Brooks in the armory, checking rifles and ammunition. The old sergeant had insisted on commanding the ground troops that would fight if aliens managed to land on Earth. Think we can win this? Tony asked. Jake considered the question seriously. The Zephyrians have more ships, better weapons, and 3 months to plan their attack. They have technology that can destroy planets. By every logical measure, we should lose. But they made one critical mistake. They think this is about military conquest. They think if they kill enough humans, the rest will surrender. They do not understand that this is about survival. We are not fighting for territory or resources. We are fighting so our children will not grow up as slaves. Tony nodded and went back to preparing weapons. Jake continued his walk through the base. In the medical bay, doctors prepared surgery equipment and emergency supplies. In the communication center, Amy coordinated with orbital platforms and defense zones. As midnight approached, Jake stood in the main command center watching the enemy fleet move closer to Earth. The alien ships formed a massive formation that covered thousands of miles of space. Their weapon signatures showed enough firepower to glass entire continents. Final report from all zones, Jake ordered. Amy's voice was steady despite the circumstances. All defense zones report ready. Orbital platforms are armed and positioned. Ground forces are in defensive positions. Emergency shelters are at capacity. Signal from the enemy fleet, another operator reported. They are broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it on screen. The display filled with the image of a Zephyrian admiral. His scales were darker than those Jake had seen before, and his yellow eyes burned with cold fury. Humans of Earth, I am. Fleet Admiral Corvex. You killed Supreme Commander Vexstar and destroyed our occupation forces. For this crime, your species will be eliminated completely. Surrender now, and we will kill you quickly. Continue to resist, and we will make your deaths last for years. Jake stepped forward to reply. Every human on Earth would hear his response. Admiral Corvex, this is General Jake Martinez. 3 years ago, your empire made a mistake. You thought you could enslave humanity? You thought you could break our spirit by destroying our cities and murdering our children. You were wrong. The alien admiral's eyes narrowed. You are insects. Your resistance means nothing. We have weapons that can crack your planet like an egg. Maybe, Jake replied. But you are about to learn something important about humans. We do not fight because we think we can win. We fight because we refuse to lose. You enslaved us, so we turned your armies to ash. Now we are going to do the same to your fleet. Jake cut the transmission and turned to his staff. All units, prepare for battle. Show them what humans do to bullies who hurt children. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The battle for Earth began at dawn. Fleet Admiral Corvex ordered his ships to form attack formation as they approached the planet. 347 capital ships and 2,000 smaller vessels moved toward what they expected to be an easy target. The aliens had come to finish what they started 3 years ago. They had no idea what was waiting for them. General Jake Martinez watched the enemy fleet approach on the main screen in Mount Rushmore Command Center. Amy, are all Prometheus platforms ready? All 47 platforms report weapons charged and targeting systems locked, Amy Rodriguez replied from her control station. The crews are standing by for your order. Jake opened a communication channel to every orbital platform. Prometheus crews, this is General Martinez. You volunteered for this mission knowing you might not come home. Your sacrifice today will save millions of lives on Earth. When you see your targets, remember every human child who died in alien mines. Remember every family torn apart by Zephyrian slavery. Make them pay. Captain David Hughes sat in the command chair of Prometheus Platform 7. Around him, his crew of 5 volunteers made final preparations. The platform was invisible to Zephyrian sensors, hidden by their own stolen stealth technology. Through the view screen, he could see the massive alien fleet approaching. Target acquired, his weapons officer reported. Zephyrian battleship, range 2,000 kilometers. All platforms, you are clear to engage, Jake's voice came through the radio. David pressed the firing button. For humanity. Across Earth's orbit, 47 electromagnetic pulse weapons fired at once. Beams of invisible energy reached out toward the Zephyrian fleet. The aliens had no warning. One moment, their ships were advancing in perfect formation. The next moment, dozens of their largest vessels went dark and began drifting helplessly. Through space, Fleet Admiral Corvex stood on the bridge of his flagship as alarms started screaming around him. Report, he shouted at his officers. 43 ships are not responding to communications, his tactical officer replied with shock in his voice. Their power systems appear to be completely offline. Impossible. The humans have no weapons that can reach us at this range. But they did. Dr. Lisa Campbell's Prometheus system was working exactly as designed. The orbital platforms had turned Zephyrian technology into the perfect weapon against Zephyrian ships. Second wave, fire. Jake ordered from Earth. Another volley of electromagnetic pulses reached out toward the alien fleet. This time the Zephyrians were ready and began evasive maneuvers, but 20 more ships lost power and drifted away from the formation. Return fire, Korvex screamed. Destroy those weapon platforms. But the aliens could not target what they could not see. The stealth technology they had developed to hide their own ships now protected human weapons. Zephyrian plasma beams fired blindly into space, hitting nothing. Sam Mitchell led Earth's fighter squadrons up from the planet's surface. 200 modified Zephyrian fighters climbed toward the enemy fleet. The pilots knew they were vastly outnumbered, but they had advantages the aliens did not expect. All fighters, remember your training, Sam said over the radio. We are faster and more agile than their pilots. Use that. Hit them hard and get out. The human fighters struck the alien formation like a swarm of angry wasps. They dove between the massive battleships, firing electromagnetic pulse weapons at close range. Zephyrian fighter pilots tried to respond, but the humans had learned to fight in ways that confused alien battle computers. Lieutenant Sarah Kim rolled her fighter sideways and fired at a Zephyrian cruiser's engine section. Her pulse weapon disabled the ship's propulsion system. Target disabled, she reported. Moving to next target. All around her, human pilots pressed their attacks. They flew closer to enemy ships than safety allowed, ramming damaged alien vessels when their ammunition ran out. The Zephyrians had superior numbers, but they had never faced pilots willing to die for their cause. On his flagship, Fleet Admiral Korvex watched his fleet being torn apart by weapons he could not understand. Activate the planet killer, he ordered. His officers looked shocked. Admiral, our own ships are still in the target zone. I do not care. These humans must be eliminated. Completely. The massive weapon began charging its primary cannon. It was designed to crack planets in half with a single shot. But as the weapon powered up, its energy signature became visible to Earth's sensors. Amy, are you seeing this? Jake asked. Confirmed. The large ship at the center of their formation is charging some kind of massive weapon. Energy readings are off the scale. Jake grabbed his radio. All Prometheus platforms, concentrate fire on the largest enemy ship. Everything you have. 23 platforms were still operational. They turned their weapons toward Korvex's flagship and fired together. The concentrated electromagnetic pulse overloaded every system on the massive ship. The planet killer. Weapon exploded as its power core was disrupted. The explosion destroyed Korvex's flagship and damaged dozens of nearby ships. But it also revealed the location of several Prometheus platforms. Zephyrian gunners finally had targets they could. See, Platform 7 is taking fire, David Hughes reported as plasma beams tore through his station's hull. Hull breach in sections 2 and 4. We are losing life support. Platform 7, abandon your station, Jake ordered. Negative, General, we still have weapon power. As long as we can fight, we fight. David and his crew stayed at their posts as their platform was destroyed around them. They fired their weapon until the very end, disabling one more alien ship before their station exploded. Similar battles played out across Earth's orbit. The volunteer crews of the Prometheus platforms fought until their stations were destroyed, or their weapons ran out of power. By the end of the first day, only 7 platforms remained operational, but the damage to the Zephyrian fleet was catastrophic. Over half their ships were disabled or destroyed. The survivors were scattered and disorganized. Fleet Admiral Korvex was dead, and the aliens had no unified command structure. On the second day of battle, Dr. Lisa Campbell activated her final surprise. The virus she had designed to infiltrate Zephyrian computer networks spread through their remaining ships. One by one, alien vessels lost control of their systems. Jake, the virus is working, Lisa reported excitedly. Their ships are shutting down all across the fleet. Jake opened a communication channel to the surviving alien ships. Zephyrian vessels, this is General Martinez. Your admiral is dead. Your fleet is destroyed. Your computer systems are compromised. You have one chance to surrender, a new voice responded from the alien fleet. Human General, I am Captain Zekmo of the cruiser Dark Star. We request terms for surrender. No terms, Jake replied coldly. 3 years ago, you enslaved our people. You murdered our children. You destroyed our cities? Now you ask for mercy? You will receive the same mercy you showed us. The final phase of the battle was not really a battle at all. It was hunting season. Human fighters and the remaining Prometheus platforms systematically destroyed every alien ship that could not escape. Some Zephyrian vessels tried to flee, but Earth's new faster-than-light ships were ready for them. General Pete Jackson led the pursuit squadron in humanity's first interstellar warship. "No alien leaves this system alive," he announced over the radio. "They came here to exterminate us." Now they learn what extermination really means. When the last Zephyrian ship was destroyed, an eerie silence fell over Earth's orbit. The space around the planet was filled with debris from the alien fleet. Not a single enemy vessel remained intact. Jake stood in the command center looking at the tactical display. Where once hundreds of alien ships had threatened Earth, now there was only wreckage. "Amy, send a message to all human settlements. The Zephyrian fleet has been completely destroyed. Earth is free." Celebrations erupted across the planet. In the cities, people emerged from underground shelters to cheer in the streets. In the countryside, farmers looked up at stars that no longer held the threat of alien invasion, but Jake was already planning the next phase. He activated a communication link to Dr. Campbell's research facility. "Lisa, how quickly can we reverse engineer their faster-than-light technology?" "We already have, Jake. The shipyards can begin production of interstellar vessels immediately." "Good. Pete, prepare the fleet for departure. We have work to do." 6 months later, human ships appeared in orbit around the Zephyrian homeworld. The aliens who had once ruled a galactic empire now cowered in their cities as human fighters circled overhead. Jake stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship as the first landing craft descended toward the alien capital. A simple message was broadcast to every Zephyrian on the planet: "We were your slaves. Now we are your reckoning." The Zephyrian Empire had lasted for thousands of years. They had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved millions of beings. But they had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for both learning and revenge. The slaves had become the masters. The victims had become the victors. And across the galaxy, other species would learn a simple lesson: never enslave humanity. Because humans always remember, and humans never forgive those who hurt their children. The stars now belonged to Earth.